Donald Trump shocked the world again by becoming number 47 after being number 45. Number 46 was Joe Biden. And we already know what Joe Biden's presidential run will go down, probably in the historical books. He will go down as the worst president of all time, even worse than Donald Trump as number 45, which says a lot. Joe Biden was responsible for a migration disaster, an inflation disaster, and, a part of an economical downturn that left many Americans in a very precarious position. And then there was horror for America's big cities. Chicago, we know one of them. They got a horrible mayor by the name of Brandon Johnson. But Mayor Eric Adams, who is the proud mayor of New York City. Eric Adams is a former police department who used to be a Republican. And he took on the task of becoming one of the very few elected African-American mayors in the city of New York. And things seemed to be doing okay until the federal government came down with the migrant crisis. And Eric Adams, who really paid a price, according to him, for coming out against these things, said this.
This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City.
The mayor says the city currently supporting 110,000 asylum seekers that have arrived in the 5 boroughs since April of 2022.
Then we all know after that, Eric Adams was doing the best he can to put band-aids on the city. He came up with the debit card program. He came out with the food and all of this, a lot of housing. People were upset about that. And then he wanted migrants to actually work.
They said, we want to work. We want to work. What is more anti-American than coming to America and you can't work? That's what we all should be talking about. This is so anti-American that someone can come to our country. People want to say 6 months. It's not 6 months. You could be here for almost 2 years and you're told that you can't work. All of us, all of our ancestors came somewhere. Think about if your ancestors were unable to work when they came to America. Think about it. Imagine what the impact is that you wouldn't be here right now doing what you're doing.
But then it all came crashing down when Eric Adams became indicted.
Mayor Eric Adams has just been indicted on federal criminal charges. The FBI searching the mayor's residence at Grace Mansion in Manhattan just this morning. Adams will be the first sitting New York mayor ever to face federal charges.
Now, Eric Adams didn't appreciate this at all, being that he felt the Democratic Party is responsible for this downfall and trying to ruin his career.
My fellow New Yorkers, it is now my belief that the federal government intends to charge me with crimes. If so, these charges will be entirely false, based on lies. But they would not be surprising. I always knew that if I stood my ground for all of you, that I would be a target. And a target I became.
Donald Trump actually felt that, hey, they were being too hard on Eric Adams. And, Eric Adams didn't support Kamala Harris, at least in campaigning for her in the city of New York. He refused to do so. So now Eric Adams is ending a food program in New York City.
Some breaking news now. The city will end its controversial debit card program for migrants. Under the pilot program, migrants staying in city-funded hotels receive these cards to buy their own food and other necessities. In a statement, a City Hall spokesperson said in part, through the Immediate Response Cards pilot program, we were able to reduce food waste, redirect millions of dollars to our local economy, and provide more cultural relevant food to more than 2,600 migrant families in our care. The migrant families now will continue to receive these debit cards through the end of the year. After that, the city will transition back to food delivery services for migrants.
Eric Adams has also confirmed that he's talked to Donald Trump.
So you talked yesterday to President-elect Trump. What did you talk about? And did it involve any funding for New York City, or perhaps lack of funding?
Well, I've been very consistent about private conversations. I don't go into them, but I'm clear. I'm here to fight on behalf of this city. You can't hold your breath and wait 4 years before you start bringing back those resources to the city. We have a new president, and I'm going to collaborate with his administration to deal with some pressing issues that face in our city, particularly around funding. When you look at the billions of dollars we spent with the migrants and asylum seekers, we got very little help from the federal government, and I think it's imperative that we engage on the right foot to say New York needs infrastructure, affordability, and other big ticket items.
Now, he was also asked on this particular interview if Donald Trump is going to pardon him for his federal case. He declined to really comment on that, saying they're talking to his lawyer. But the issue is true, that Eric Adams is quite more fond of Donald Trump than people would like to believe. And even though Eric Adams is a Democrat, Eric Adams wants to get the migrant crisis out of New York, not only because he's the mayor of New York City and loves New York City. This is damaging his career. Because why? Because the migrant crisis will be blamed on him and him alone, when really it wasn't his fault. But mayors are typically not made to handle these huge migration crises that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris set up. And this is a career-ending thing. And so the reality is you're seeing the Democratic Party destroy itself from within. They're already victim blaming. They're blaming each other for the loss. They're blaming Joe Biden for the loss. All of those things are happening. The Democratic Party is in shambles, and they're just not looking at the fact that they don't give a lot of hope to those people who should endorse them. And that occurred in every swing state. Kamala Harris lost every swing state, guys, all 7. Arizona, I believe, was one of them. Nevada, she lost. Georgia, she lost. North Carolina, she lost. Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, she lost. A lot of people who turned on her, it was a lot of blacks. In Philadelphia County, now it was a lot of blacks that voted for the majority, but those few percentage points were a lot of difference. It was a big difference. In Milwaukee had 33% voting for Trump. And that's typically not the case. And many of those people in Milwaukee are black. Milwaukee had 18% blacks voting. In Georgia was a big shift. In North Carolina was a big shift. So the reality is not only are people as voters disgruntled, actual government officials and politicians are disgruntled. And so now you have this mess now.
Donald Trump plans the largest mass deportation operation in the history of the United States on day 1 in office. Tell me that's not racist. This man said, let's make America great again, which means let's make a KKK again. People that voted for Donald Trump saying, oh, we got our country back again. Yay, I'm so excited. Stop hiding your racism with patriotism. It's not patriotic to be racist unless you're talking about the founding fathers and the days of slavery. Are you okay with having slaves? Are you saying that you're okay with people of color sitting at the back of the bus or using colored restrooms? That's what it's giving. I truly hate that we live in 2 different Americas. You, my friend, who voted for Donald J. Trump to be back in office, we're not considering me a black woman who also was born and raised in the United States. You didn't care about my well-being. You didn't care about my family's well-being. You didn't care about how this decision of yours to vote for him would affect me, your neighbor. And you call yourself a Christian. I hope you can pray to your God and sleep well at night knowing what you did to so many of your neighbors that you were supposed to love, that you were called to love.
You have those people on the left who are concerned about where are the migrants gonna go, and this is racist. Let me just tell you this, okay? I understand that, some migrants are those gonna be black, and some are gonna be discriminated against because they're here illegally. But at the end of the day, if you're a U.S. tax-paying citizen, you come first. I'm in Uganda. I cannot come here and get aid from the government to do anything because I'm not a Ugandan citizen. I gotta pay my work permit. I'm a foreigner here, and guess what? The citizens of Uganda should come first. That's the reality, and it's their country. So, all of these people that want to save, people who want to save the migrants, hey, you can go and volunteer in their countries. It's okay, it's fine. But the American people who things are hard for them, Americans are spending a lot of money on food, a lot, obviously gas is always a problem. It's almost impossible to own a home anymore. What else are they going to do? So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shady Jackson, back into the episode of Fair Use. I'm out.